All right. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to our gathering today. Welcome to our BAM session. People are coming in through those electronic doors. If you have one of those little cameras, now's a good time to turn that on. It's nice to see our group there. I know I would say probably 10 or 15, maybe 20% of our agents actually turn their camera on. And I know what that means. That means he just got out of bed. I know what that means. I've been studying this. So, but good to have everyone here. Others are coming in. It takes just a few minutes for all the people to come in. Even though we push one button, it takes a couple moments for everyone to get through the digital doors there. So great to have everyone here on our call today. And now today we invited some VIPs from a couple other brokerages. So we have a few guests in here who are not Plum Tree agents. And we're definitely glad to have you along for the ride as well. This just happens to be something we do every Monday at 10. And so we believe in training our agents. One of the things I think is a little bit distinctive from the training that we do compared to other brokerages is we really try to focus on training and how to put more dollars in your bank account. So other brokerages might do various sessions. We try to do a lot of different types of training, but in particular, our number one focus for training is how to put more dollars in your bank account, how to build a great business. So I'm glad that you're along with us today for the ride today. This is going to be a good one. This is an important one. I've done training on business planning for the year in November and December before to get ready for the upcoming year. And I think there's something to be said for that. That's important. Some of you do plan your year before you even get into the year. I know some people plan, they wait until January 1, and then that's the time when they want to start their planning. But another way to look at it, and I've seen this in the business, is that the real estate season probably starts in February or March. So now all through January and really even February is a perfect time for preparation for a fantastic year in the upcoming year. So if you haven't developed your business plan yet, it's okay. No need to panic. We can start that today and get you on the right path. So, and Scott did some training. Scott Reif, our managing broker, did some training recently on business planning, and that was fantastic. And I'm also, we all have different strategies, and I think every little bit that you can get is helpful. As a matter of fact, Marcy and Perry is going to do a training next week on business planning, just so you can see a little bit different perspective. And I think all these different perspectives really help over the course of time. So without any further ado, I'm going to share my screen. And this is, if things are going to go badly, this is where it goes badly. Let me see if I can get this rolling. And in theory, I think you can see, yep, it went badly. That's what I was afraid of. Let me try this again. I'm just going to share this screen. And if you can see my screen, do you see a BAM logo on your screen? Raise your hand if you see the BAM. And you can still hear me? This is all good. All right, we're getting there. All right, so I'm going to move that down. I'm going to play that. So do you still see my screen? Are you able to see that? Hopefully so. Raise your thumb if you see my screen, you see the BAM. All right, so far so good. So only one strike today, so we're doing good. Okay, well, today I wanted to talk about want to talk about business planning, but before I actually get into that, I want to remind you, we announced this last week that we are now in preparation for our next big Plum Tree cruise. So in February of 2026, which is about a year out, we're going to do our next cruise. But the reason why we're telling you now is because you have an opportunity to go for free. And so we have this open for our Plum Tree agents, but if you're a guest, it's good for you to be aware this is the kind of stuff that we like to do around here. So In addition to a recruiting bonus that we offer of $1,000, and in addition to paying you $100 every time the agent that you recruited closes a deal, we just wanted to see how ridiculously generous can we be. So in addition to those, we are planning to give out a free cruise for recruiting. So we're going to be going on the Royal Caribbean Utopia of the Seas. And if you recruit two agents between now and November of this year, that gives you almost a whole year. Between now and November, you can go for free on this cruise. If you recruit a third agent, then you can bring a guest for free as well. Now, if you don't recruit any agents, you can always pay to come along. If you recruit two agents, you can always pay for your spouse or guest to come along with you. But if you want the full thing for free, just recruit three agents and you're in. So this is going to be amazing. We're going to do CE training on the ship. We'll do about an hour on 3 of the days that we're there. We take off on a Monday. We'll be doing amazing things Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, come back on Friday, and it's going to be spectacular. So, and it's a tax write-off, I've been told, if you have expenses involved in this. So we'd love for you to come along. So this is going to be one of our big things for the year. So that's our announcement for the day. And then today, I want to talk to you about how to build a business plan. I want you to build a plan this year that makes this the best year ever. And so I'm going to give you very quickly the top 7 points, and then we're going to dive into these. But basically, point number 1, you want to establish clear goals and write them down every day. Number 2, break the goal down into manageable steps. Number 3, create a lead generation machine. That's something we talk a lot about. And then number 4, build systems that will force the growth. And then number 5, utilize time blocking to maximize your efficiency. Number 6, continually review and adjust your business to stay on track. And then number 7, spend time every day learning and developing your skills. Now, I've got a lot of slides for this. If you're interested in getting a copy of my slides in a PDF format, put your email out there in the comment section, and I'll be sure to email these to you following the training, because I'm pretty sure you won't be able to write fast enough to keep up with all the stuff. And I'm not good at talking slower, so you can listen faster and take notes and give us your email address. I'll send you the notes. Okay, so let's dig into that first one. First, we want you to establish clear goals and write them down every day. So this was something that I pushed this a lot. I learned this from Brian Tracy, but one of the best things you can do, it's life-changing, is to pick up a goal notebook. Just get a notebook, just a blank notebook at Barnes and Noble, Walmart, wherever you want to get it. And every day, write down your top 10 goals for the next 10 years. Okay, so think in terms for this of your 10-year goals. So the first day, you write it out, put your date on it, write out these are your top 10 goals for the next 10 years. And then the next day, I want you to do that again. Write your goals out for the next 10 years. But the only caveat is that you're not allowed to look back to the day before to look at those goals. So each day, you're creating your top 10 goals. This is what I want my life to look like in 5 years from now or 10 years from now. If you were to push a magic button and you're immediately thrust 5 years or 10 years into the future and your life is perfect, what does that look like? And so that's what you want to be creating. You're a lifestyle architect. You want to be creating that perfect life in 5 years or 10 years from now. You want to be creating that. And you do that first by imagining it in your mind, writing it down, and then do it every day. So your goals each day are going to take a somewhat different shape. On the first day, you're going to have these important things. On the second day, you're going to forget some of those things, and you'll have some new ones on there, and that's okay. On the third day, you'll do it again. and certain things will drop off the list, but then there will be certain things that stay on the list. And the things that stay on the list after you do this day after day after day, the things that stay on your list end up being the truly important things in your life. Okay. And so I would say from a spiritual perspective, God has used this in my life to give me give me utmost certainty about what I'm doing on the planet. And so he's clarified his vision. They become God's goals in my life. That's the way it works for me. It may work a little bit differently for you, but that's how I describe that in my life. So it's very important. Now, when you do goals, when you write these things out, you want to make sure you use SMART goals, okay? And I don't mean brainy or cerebral. I'm talking about goals that you can use the acrostic SMART, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Okay, those are SMART goals. So you want to make sure they're very specific. Don't say I want to be better. I want to be really good. You want it to be a very specific goal, and you want it to be measurable. I want to. So to do that, you want to say I want to have this specific income, or I want to have this specific net worth, or I want to have uh, this specific thing that I can definitely measure that. So, but you also want to make sure it's achievable. So sometimes I've seen agents do this and they say, I want to have $500 million in real estate investments within the next 12 months. And that's a great goal. That's no problem. It just, you have to ask, is that really achievable? Or if your income has been $10,000 or $20,000 for the past 10 years, an income goal of $500,000 this next year is probably not achievable within a year. Now, it might be within 10 years. As a matter of fact, I'm sure it can be within 10 years. But you want to make sure whatever the goals are, that they are achievable. And then you want to make sure it's relevant. I'll see some agents that are setting up goals, and then they'll have this one very odd goal that's out there that has nothing to do with their life or any of these other things that are important. And I'm thinking, well, what's that one about? So make sure it's relevant. Make sure it's something that's really, truly important to you. And then make sure it's time bound. So you want to give a deadline. I want to do this by this. Just an example, you might say, I want to recruit 3 agents to get a free cruise by November 1st. That can be a time-bound goal. It's very specific, measurable, relevant, achievable, all of that. So those are SMART goals. And then what this does, what you want to do as a part of this process is you want to program your reticular activating system, okay? And we've talked about this a bit over time, but I want to refresh you. Your reticular activating system is a part of your brain that tunes out things that are not important, because you get so many signals throughout the day that you're getting bombarded with tens of thousands of messages and notifications, alerts, and then, signs and marketing and advertising. All these messages are just bombarding your brain. So your brain will go into overload. So your brain has to sift out the non-important things. So what accidentally happens is that your brain may sift out things that are actually important. You're getting all these messages. Your wife wanted you to do this thing, but you're so focused, you have so many distractions, you forget that thing that actually was important. So you want to learn to program your reticular activating system. So what I do is I program my reticular activating system based on my goals. And so I'll write down my goals. And as a matter of fact, I'll get a big 10-inch 20-inch by 30-inch sticky note. And I'll write my goals out on these sticky notes, and I'll put it in my basement or in my office so I see it every day. Or I'll get small sticky notes and I'll put them in my mirror in my bathroom just as reminders. These are things I need to focus on every day. I keep focusing my reticular activating system. So that's part of the focus, keeping your brain focused. And I would recommend, as far as goal setting, that you set 10-year goals and then 3 or 5 year goals and then 1 year goals. Okay. And the 10 and 3 year goals, those are important to have those. In particular, every day I typically do the 10 year goals so that I can see this is the big plan. This is what I'm doing. And then once I have it written out, like these are my goals, after I've written it, then I do my to-do list for the day. Okay. And I do my to-do list in the context of I just wrote out my goals. And you'd be amazed when you do this, how many things on your to-do list are just busy stuff that don't matter. When I was early in my real estate career, I was amazed at how many loan officers wanted to take me out for lunch. They wanted to take me out. They'd buy my lunch. They wanted to get to know me, and they weren't just being my friends. They wanted my money. They wanted my leads. They wanted my business, and that's great. I do the same thing when I'm in their shoes. I would do the same thing, but as an agent, I came to realize that that's a distraction for me. That's great. They're a loan officer. They want my business, no problem. So I started foregoing the free lunches and saying, "Hey, text me what you're really good at, and I'll add you to my list of loan officers." They don't really like that, but that's the way I approached that because I didn't have time to be meeting all these different loan officers. So that's an example of programming your reticular activating system, writing your goals down, focusing on what's really important, and being careful to guard your schedule so that other peripheral things, there's going to be a lot of people that want your time. So don't let them take that. That's your most valuable resource you have on this planet. So, so establish your goals and write them down every day. The next thing is to break down your goals into manageable steps. So break it down into manageable steps. For example, let's say you want to set an income goal of $100,000. Now I know some of you have already you make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's great. That's fine. Hang with me here because there's a lot of people who are still trying to hit that $100,000 benchmark. And if your goal is 200,000 or 300 or 500, whatever, just adjust the numbers for your own personal situation. So let's just say though that you're wanting to hit $100,000. That's your income goal. So basically, that would require about 10 sales per year at $350,000 per sale average, right? Because if you're getting, let's just say an average of 3%, we're not setting commissions, but we've seen that the averages tend to be around 2%, 3%, 2.5%. And you want to calculate your percentage in there. But if you do about 10 sales at 350,000, then that's going to give you a $100,000 commission income because a $350,000 sale with a 300 or a 3% commission is going to be about $10,000. So you need about 10 of those, right? To get to your $100,000. So then the next step, though, is to understand that one sale is going to require you to make about 30 contacts. You're going to need about 30 real estate conversations in order to get a sale. You're going to need to be talking to people. Okay, so that's going to require about 30. So if you want 10 sales, that means you're going to have to make 30, 300 contacts. Boy, my brain is so shuffled today. Sorry about that. But you're going to have to make about 300 contacts, have 300 conversations about real estate over the course of the next year. And when you look at that, that sounds kind of overwhelming. Like, oh, 300 people. How can I find these 300 people? How can I have that many conversations? But if you continue to break that down, 300 conversations about real estate really comes out to about 6 conversations per week. That's about one per day, right? So all you need to do is make about one prospecting conversation each day, and that will lead to you generating about $100,000 per year in income. So that's how you break it down. And So that's very manageable to do. And some of you are thinking, well, gosh, I could make two a day, or I could make seven a day or 10. And can you see how that builds? So you break your goal down into manageable steps, and that takes away from it being overwhelming. The next step then, because you're thinking, well, I need these 300 conversations about real estate. How do I get those 300 conversations about real estate? Well, at that point, you want to create a lead generation machine. I use this term all the time because you've got to do this. You've got to build into your business a lead generation machine. Okay. So we give lots of examples at Plum Tree, but at the very foundation is you want to at least sign up for our 12 lead generation companies that we partner with at Plum Tree. If you're a Plum Tree agent, we've got 12 of these companies like Redfin, Ojo, Homelight, OpCity. We've got 12 of them, and they're free leads up front. And then you sign up for them. They send you leads. If you close the deal, then then you pay a 25 to 35% referral fee to the company. They're all a little bit different. So, that's just this is easy money. Sign up for those. It's free. But then you can be working for sale by owners, your professional network. You can be circle prospecting, working open houses, referrals. You can be using our conversion software to create squeeze pages and posting those around social media, geo farming, YouTube, working your sphere of influence, expired social media, estate sales. I had down there divorce sales, and my wife Lee saw that. She's like, you should delete that one. Divorce sales, that sounds so negative. And let me just say, I'll put a little caveat on that one on divorce sales. What the idea is there is that you're connecting with attorneys, divorce attorneys, who are working with people who are going through that. And you don't want to look at it as a business strategy. You want to think of it as, are you capable of being compassionate to people who are going through this excruciatingly painful time of their lives? And maybe that's a part of your business, is that you can actually help people who are really struggling. And that would also be estate sales. If you have this compassionate side to you, that might be something where you can really help people along the way. Now, what I want to say is I would recommend that you budget, especially in the first 3 years of your business. You'll want to budget about 10% of your revenue towards lead generation. Okay. And some agents get in and it doesn't even dawn on them that they're running a business. And so they're not budgeting money for this. And then they run out of leads and their business dries up. So you get that first commission check, take 10% of it out, and somehow use that to either create a marketing campaign, buy internet leads, or do something where you're investing it in more revenue producing opportunities. So in particular, this type of lead generation is going to be important in the first 3 years, maybe 5 years of your business, because you're trying to get your business off the ground. Not that many people know you, that you're in the business. So you want to focus on paid leads and these, referral type leads where you can learn how to sell a house to somebody you don't know. Okay. Because you'll go through your sphere of influence, but within 2 weeks, everyone in your sphere of influence is going to be like, all right, yeah, I know you sell real estate. You already told me. So you have to figure out how to sell a house to someone you don't know. And that's going to come through these lead sources like this. Now, the goal is to stay in touch with every person that you've ever done business with. You stay in touch with them after the sale. And within 3 to 5 years, then you'll start having a ton of referral business. So that's where we want to get you. If you've been in the business for 5 or 10 years and you're still doing this type of lead generation where you're doing cold calling every day, cranking out 50 calls, cold calling every day. If you stay in that for 3 to 5 years or 10 years, that's going to burn you out. And so the ideal situation and this is where the real pros, they do such great work that every time they close a deal, those people start referring other people to them, and then they're doing repeat business. The house you sold 4 years ago, now they're going to list it and they want to come to you because you've stayed in touch with them. So you want to transition to a referral model as soon as you possibly can. Okay, so number four then is to build systems that will force growth. Okay, now you can have systems, checklists, scripts, templates, et cetera. You can have all of that, and it's important, but that will pretty much just sustain your growth. That will just pretty much help you to be organized, help things to go smoother, and that's all fantastic and it's important. But in addition to that, I would encourage you to create systems that actually force growth. Just an example, when I was an agent many years ago, I would set everybody up in the MLS as a contact to have automated searches. And if I bumped into someone that's interested in any way or any internet lead or any type of subject, someone who's interested in real estate, I would immediately, my system was to set them up in the MLS, make sure they're getting automated listings sent from my account to them regularly. And I got to the point where I had about 400 people set up every day. At least 400 emails were going out from me to my database that was in the MLS. So almost every day, people were coming to me saying, "Hey, Chris, thanks for sending me that listing. I'd like to take a look at this house on Saturday." And it might be someone who I hadn't spoken to for years. I was getting phone calls from people I didn't have any idea who this was, and they're texting me, "Hey, Chris, can we see 123 Main Street this weekend?" So you want to get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people set up in these automations. And when you do that, the business starts coming in, you're forcing the growth because so many communications are going out. Something's going to happen. Something's going to drop for you sooner or later. Another example of the MLS is every time you get a closing, you definitely need to set them up in an MLS search for their neighborhood for homes that have sold in their neighborhood and set the frequency for once a month. Okay. This is so important that you do this. This is the easiest way to stay in touch with previous clients over the course of years. And so everyone wants to know what the value of their property is, and they want to know what's selling in their neighborhood. So instead of going to them all the time and asking, "Hey, you want to buy a house?" Instead of doing that, and they don't want to buy a house, they just bought a house. Instead, they're getting information from you that helps them stay up to track with the value of their home because they're seeing the sales in their neighborhood. Now, you're not sending them new listings, okay? You're sending them homes that have just sold in their neighborhood, and you want to set the frequency for once a month. So they're getting a list of homes that sold that month just in their neighborhood. And you can do that with a map search that's specifically just around their subdivision. So, but you can set up lead campaigns. Another system that I did that would force growth to my business is I was putting lots of money into internet leads. And I thought, well, if they're going to get on Zillow, and it's not hard to figure this out. If you do a search for homes for sale in Cincinnati, Ohio, or you name your area, okay, homes for sale in that area, and you look at the Google results, Zillow and realtor.com, and the ones that are there at the top, those are going to be, that's where everybody goes, right? So why not invest your money in the organizations that are at the very top? And so I saw that many years ago in my business. So I started investing in realtor.com leads and Zillow leads, but I would put a big chunk of money in there. I was spending a lot of money on leads. And so it was forcing me to have a big business because I would get, 5 leads a day, 10 leads a day. And it was forcing me. I was constantly busy responding to these leads because I had created a system based on money. I was sending them money every month and they were sending me leads every month and it kept me very busy. So create systems that are going to force growth for your business. Okay. And that can come through marketing campaigns also. If you can figure out how to do Facebook ads or Google ads or pay somebody to do it for you, you're just throwing that money in there to their marketing. It might be a couple $100 a month or whatever, but then that's going to force leads toward you, keeps you busy, keeps you selling a lot of houses. So James Clear and Atomic Habits, I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but he said you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So create systems that force growth in your business. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, number 5, utilize time blocking to maximize your efficiency. Okay, so I recommend starting with this. Set appointments on your calendar for your most important revenue and producing activities. Okay, so block that out. Set an appointment with yourself. Maybe that's from 11 a.m. until noon. Maybe it's 11 to 1. Maybe it's 10 to noon. But figure out what's the part of the day when you have the most energy. And maybe you're bivocational. Maybe you have a day job. I did this for many years. So my time blocking for prospecting was while I was driving on my way home from my job, because I had a 1 hour commute every day, there and back. So while I was driving back from my job, I had my phone numbers dialed up. I had them set to me, so I was ready, and I would just make phone calls for the entire time home. So blocking out that time, making sure, okay, that's the time slot when I'm going to do my prospecting. And if somebody says, hey, you want to grab coffee on Thursday at 10 a.m., and maybe that's your prospecting time slot, you should guard that and say, well, as a matter of fact, I'm tied up at 10. Would 11 o'clock work for you, or would 1 o'clock work? But you want to protect that prospecting time, and to block your best hours of the days for the activities also that are the most difficult. And I've found phone calling, prospecting, that tends for me to be the most difficult time of my schedule. That's the hardest thing for me to do because I hate rejection. So you're going to get rejected a few times when you're making these prospecting phone calls, or you're going to get maybe a hard question or something. To make sure you build your day around that, to make sure you have the best energy, you have the most positive spirit, everything's perfect for that time slot. The other thing I would say is think in terms of 90-minute time blocks. So if you have a project and it's going to take 6 hours, that's at least what you're thinking, you would be amazed if you just focus 90 minutes on it. So many of those 6-hour projects can be knocked out in 90 minutes but you have to be focused. So set a time block where you don't answer your phone, a time block where you don't listen to text messages, a time block where you're not checking social media, just you and a room without windows and 90 minutes and your phone or your computer, whatever that is, that's going to help you be effective. So think in terms of 90 minutes. You'd be amazed at how much work you can crank out with 90-minute time slots. And you might do a couple of these a day. You have all these crises that are going on. You're putting out fires all day, and you're reacting to stuff coming in. But if you block out 1 or 2 90-minute time slots, you'll be amazed at how much work you can get done during that. And also block out specific days of the week. Now, you might say, gosh, it's hard to do prospecting calls every day. So what you might do is say, well, if you need to get your 1 a day, you need to get 6 a week or 7 a week, or maybe 10 a week, maybe say, I'm going to do my prospecting on Mondays from 10 a.m. until noon. And every week, 10 until noon, you're just closed off. The only thing you're doing is prospecting. You're making those phone calls to leads to try to generate business. So those are some things you want to do with your time blocking. And I'm sure many of you have ideas as well. And after I get through this content, I'd love to hear your ideas on how you do these things. Number 6, is you have to continually review and adjust your business to stay on track. So there's constant process improvement going on. You're always thinking about how can I do it better? Is this thing that I did, is it still working? And I always think of every lead generation strategy. I always think of that as an experiment at first. So I did that with expired listings. I thought, well, I'm going to sign up for a month. I'm going to pay my $100 to get leads for expired listings. If I can't get my $100 back at the end of a month, then I'm out. And it was an experiment. And on expired leads, I found out, oh gosh, I can spend $100 a month and get several listings every month. Okay, so that was worth it. But then I remember trying homes.com leads, and I tried it for whatever the shortest time was that they would allow me to do it. And I got zero business out of homes.com leads. So I was like, okay, I'm out. And for that reason, I'm out. And so I was always looking for new lead generation ideas and strategies. But everything's an experiment at first. So keep trying it. And then when you find something that works, then lean into that. You find some, and so for me, it was expired listings. I thought, holy smokes, I can get a lot of listings when I do this. So I leaned into it and I started really pursuing how can I get really good at expired listings. Um, and I studied it and I looked at best practices. By the way, just a footnote in here, I always say this whenever I'm talking about prospecting and these things, be careful not to call somebody on the do not call list. Okay. That we had an agent who did that a couple years ago and got stung because there's attorneys that are preying upon realtors who are calling people on the do not call list. And she sent two text messages to somebody on the do not call list, an expired listing, sent two text messages, and it ended up costing $175,000. So if you want more information, I can help you with that. But do not call people on the do not call list. And in particular, you especially don't want to text anyone on the do not call list. As a matter of fact, I would say don't even try any marketing texting because especially now they've come out with the new uh, tighter rules within the last few weeks where if you want to text somebody for marketing purposes, you need to have express written permission from them that says they give you permission to text them for marketing. Okay. Now, who's going to give you written permission to send them marketing text messages? Nobody. Nobody would do that, right? So you want to be careful. So in other words, the way I interpret that is don't ever do it because if you're trying to find a workaround, stay away from it. Don't do it. The best way to approach contacts is to find people who are not on the do not call list and pick up your phone and call them. And I know there's auto dialers that can actually screen. Scott Reif was telling me about this last week. I didn't realize it. There's auto dialers that can screen out people who are on the do not call list. And if you have questions about that, Scott can fill in some of the blanks on that. But just be careful on the do not call list. So, okay. Another idea that I recommend when it comes to reviewing your business is to create a dashboard for your business progress. Okay. And you might be thinking, oh gosh, what's it like a dashboard? What are you talking about? It can really be something as simple as a spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet, a Google worksheet, where you're tracking what are the things you're trying to accomplish. And it's been referred to. I know Brandon Stamper brought this up a couple of weeks ago. KPIs, key performance indicators. Okay, those are so important. So, what are the things where if you measure these, you know the better you get at this number, the more effective or the better results you're going to get. Okay, so an example, like for me, would have been I want to make at least 10 calls a day. And I would track that. Did I get my 10 calls in? Did I get my 10 calls in? And for me, that was a key performance indicator. And you can't always determine the result of what people, how they respond. You can't always determine how people respond, but you can determine your number of actions. Okay, so I can't, if I send out 10 emails or if I call 10 people, I don't know for sure if it's going to be effective, but I do know I can make myself get out of bed and make those calls. Okay. So focus on the key performance indicators that you can control and then push those, drive those. So things like the number of contacts you make, the number of appointments that you set, number of closings that you get. For me, you know what my number one key performance indicator is my bank account. And that's why we're all doing this stuff, right? And that's why I'm amazed when agents they're not really watching their bank account or really considering um, how much money they're giving to their brokerage. Maybe they're splitting their commission, giving tens of thousands of dollars to their broker every year when that doesn't have to happen. Like with Plum Tree, we're a 100% commission brokerage. You don't have to pay all that money to your broker. And we even have a program where you don't have to pay any money, no fees, no monthly fee. It's a 70-30 split with just a $3,900 cap. So a $3,900 cap is about a fifth or a tenth as much as what most brokerages are paying. And so for me, a key performance indicator isn't how much commission I earned, it's how much money actually hit my bank account. And so I was very, very conscious of that when I was building my real estate business. Okay, the next thing, and this is our last point, spend time every day learning and developing your skills. So you're constantly in a process, continual process improvement, but you're in continual self improvement as well. You never stop learning, always be learning. And so the more you learn, the more you earn. That's one of the things we say all the time: get all you can all you get, and sit on the can. And then, and so I would recommend that you utilize any downtime that you have. Always have, things dialed up in your phone that so you can be learning. If you're waiting, you might as well be listening to a podcast or watching business YouTube shorts. If you know you have a 2 minute wait, you can be listening to 2 or 3 shorts during that 2 minute wait. So there's no reason to have downtime. Transition time, like if you're transitioning, you're driving from one appointment to another, use that time to learn. And so constantly be learning, listen to podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube, whatever it takes. Always be learning. Some of you are probably driving right now. You're in transition while you're listening to this. Look at you. Look at you go. So keep it up. That's the good work. Okay. So just to review, establish clear goals and write them down every day. Break the goal down into manageable steps. Create a lead generation machine. Build systems that will force growth. Utilize time blocking to maximize your efficiency. Continually review and adjust your business to stay on track. And then spend time every day learning and developing your skills. So if you want a copy of my slides, go ahead and throw your email address out there. And with that, I'm going to stop the share and I'd love to hear questions. So what questions might you have about some of the things that we talked about? Or if you have other ideas or suggestions, there's a lot of wisdom in this group. I'd love to hear what everyone has to say that you can contribute to what we're talking about today. Who will be first? Who will be second?
Hey Chris, one question that came up in the chat is, will there be a replay of this training available? And that will be in Plum Tree University, which I'll mention that for anyone who's new to the to BAM, because that is an excellent resource out there in Plum Tree University. There are a lot of great video content out there.
So Plum
And
Tree Realty University is the name of our
a
YouTube
YouTube channel, right,
channel.
right,
So
yes,
find us on
yeah.
YouTube,
Good point.
Plum
Yeah,
Tree
I
Realty
didn't mention that
University.
part.
Thank you.
So yeah, on YouTube, just search Plum Tree Realty University. Another question was back to the cruise. Uh, are you limited how many people you can bring? If you recruit more people, can you bring more? If you
I,
recruit more than three,
I think we could. I think we could come up with something. Wow, you guys are way ahead of me on that. That's a great
right?
plan.
They're just
One,
they're thinking teams. They want to bring the whole family, do a family
yeah.
reunion on the ship at Plum Tree with Plum Tree training involved, and yeah.
Yeah, I like that thinking. Because you're thinking so proactively, I'm sure we'll come up with something. So send me a message. Whoever had that great question, send me a message, and we'll come up with something. But I'm sure there's a way that we can develop that. And that's the nice thing about being a local brokerage rather than a national chain. We can change things pretty quickly and come up with new ideas pretty quickly. So I love that.
Chris, I have a question. Sarah Rose here.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, good morning. I'm
Good
glad
morning.
we are doing a meeting on Martin Luther King Day. I wasn't sure. So my question is, has anyone for leads, because we're also talking about lead generation, that's how we keep the business going. Has anyone ever done a home show or had a booth somewhere at a event? And can you share with that? Was that profitable? Was it worth it?
I'll give what I know because I in my chair I see 340 businesses that are all running parallel, and I have the unusual vantage point that I know what everybody earns. And what I know, and if some of you have direct experience with this, you can definitely chime in. But I've seen agents of ours who have done like fairs, county fairs, and
Mhm.
events and Apple festivals and things like that, where they'll set up a booth and they'll
Mhm.
have all their information. And I've heard them tell me they got enough leads in that one event to last them the entire year.
It's
So,
wonderful.
so I, of course, they worked it. They're at their booth 10 or 12 hours a day for a few days,
Yes.
but definitely worth the effort to get your exposure out there and to build a great business.
But it's the way that it's approached. So if you can give me those names and ask permission if I could reach out to those people, because it's definitely how you approach it more than anything, I think, and working your booth. How did they work it is the question.
I would say throw a comment out on the Facebook Plum Tree Agent
Okay.
Connect Facebook group, and we'll create a string with that, and I'm sure people will chime in.
All right, gotcha. Thank you.
Paula and I have done this a lot, and I'd be happy if you wanted to reach out to us for us to tell you kind of our success stories. But we have found that it's like part of our business. Like that's what we plan for the year. We do at least one a quarter, and we haven't had one event that we're not getting at least like a couple of transactions out of it.
That
Not just
close. That's wonderful. Well, should I
Mhm.
call you? Is that the best way to
Yeah,
do it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can call me. Do you have my? I
Franny,
can. I'll put my number in the chat.
Franny, that's such excellent input. What would be an example of types of events that you guys have attended for lead generation?
Yeah, so we put on like every Easter we have partnered. We just have a friend that is she owns Blossom Cleveland. It's a floral shop in Cleveland or in Lakewood actually, and they had like an Easter bunny event every year. And so I just reached out to Megan. I'm like, hey, let us sponsor that. Kind of our niche and what we're doing is finding businesses that are already doing things so that we're being able to partner with them and not having to capture all of the people. And we just, sponsor that and in whatever way we can. And then we set up a table there and we make sure it's mutually beneficial to the business. But our Easter event was a big one. Like it I think we got lots of leads, but I think we got at least two closes out of that this year. So that
Man,
was
that's
really
great.
nice.
And you shared
And
that
then
table with your friends that had their business. Is that correct?
no,
Or
we we
you said you
we had a
connected.
table. Yeah, we had a table at her event. If that makes sense.
Oh, okay. I see. Gotcha.
So yeah, and then we also another one that we did last year that was really helpful. But Chris, to your point, it was costly in terms of time. It was cheap. It was only like $50 or $100 to register and like have a table there, but it was like 12 hours a day for 3 days. So we are like, oh my gosh. We talked to a lot of people, I live in Columbia Station, and they have it was like the 75th annual fair or whatever. Columbia Station is really small, but it was a really good way to talk to people in the community. Um, there were tons of people there to connect with, and so that resulted in one close, but lots of leads. So lots of conversations, which are important. So, but that getting in some of your local just little fairs and that kind of thing was really
That's
helpful.
really great. Another idea I heard is that's a great event that most people don't think about this, but a housewarming party for your clients. If you work with a buyer and they close on a home, you can personally offer to host a housewarming party for them, and you provide a catered meal from, maybe barbecue or some type of really good food. Have it catered into their home, set the date, say, hey, on Saturday, such and such date, you invite all your friends to your home, for them to see your new home. I'll provide the food, and we'll just have a big party. And so I've seen agents who have done this, and it's great for creating listings because people are like, wow, your realtor did all this for you? This is amazing. And so it creates new conversations, gets it's such a great way to build the referral business from that person that you just bought their meal. So type of that's another type of event that isn't immediately obvious. So what other thoughts, questions, comments, stories?
Well, Gwen just mentioned wedding fairs. She needs to go back and do that in the chat. So that's a great idea. I had another question. My dog doesn't bark and just threw me off. Oh, open houses. I know Aaron and Scott talked about keeping safe. Open houses is a good lead generation, but as a woman, how do I be safe in a house by myself? I just basically advertised I'm going to be alone in a house between this time and this time. Does anybody have an idea about safety and lead generation? Mainly safety is what I'm concerned.
Yeah, Scott and I did a podcast episode
Yeah.
on real estate agent safety, which is absolutely worth a watch. Talks about being responsible, being aware of your surroundings, understanding, having connections with people so they know where you are. In regards to open houses, one of the things I love about that is you can kind of completely control the territory and you can control how many people show up. And there's this old adage that says there's safety in numbers. So if you knock an open house out of the park, that thing's going to be nonstop people coming through. It actually makes it substantially safer in the grand scheme of things. There's always risk with anything we do. I like people coming in on a regular basis because that limits people wanting to do bad things. I actually feel a little less safe when it's just me by myself and going on a showing with a brand new client that I've barely met before. I find that a little bit more dangerous. But definitely have somebody on speed dial, do check-ins, things like that, and market the heck out of that thing to make sure it is as busy as possible, leaving you in a position where you're just greeting people at the front door and not wandering throughout the house with one random person.
And that was a great podcast you guys did, and that is in our Plum Tree Agent Connect Facebook group. So do a search for that, and I don't know, maybe Aaron, you might even be able to tag Sarah in that, but any others that are interested in seeing that podcast.
Oh, I
Lots of
saw
great
it. It's
content.
very good. Yeah, it's worth a watch. I did it while I was doing my dishes. So, like Chris said, just play the videos while you're doing something. Yeah.
Cool. Any others with questions or thoughts or comments?
Hey, Chris,
All right.
where do we find the do not call list, or how do we get plugged into that?
We have that in the Plum Tree Business Center. So there's a section for the do not call list.
Okay.
Abby updates that every month. So so we are, as a brokerage, are compliant with federal laws. So you can download that. But to me, the easiest way to really incorporate a do not call list with your business is to purchase leads from a company that automatically scrubs the list, and it automatically tells you these people are on the do not call list. And what I've seen is about, and this is my statistical analysis of it, is about half of people seem to be on the do not call list. And you can look at that as a positive or negative. Some people are like, oh man, that half the leads are unavailable. And I look at it and I think, wow, that means half the leads are still available. Like there's a lot of people that are not on the do not call list, and go get them, go sell my house or go sell
Well,
their house.
how do you, like, for example, how do you search the do not call list? I mean, it can be very vast, I'm guessing.
Yes.
How do
So,
is there some way to automate, like by putting in the number?
nope.
Or how
There's
does it
no way.
work?
I'm not aware of any way to automate it. So you have to pay for a service, like paid leads. That's the way to automate it. But
Okay.
the way that the National Do Not Call Directory people have set it up is that we're required to download CSV files, which is basically a spreadsheet. And so if you have your phone number, then you get into the spreadsheet and you look for the number in that spreadsheet of 175,000 numbers. You have to look in the spreadsheet to see if it's there, which you can do that by searching. So it is, that's how they're suggesting we do it. You search in the spreadsheet for that number. But for me, it's better to work with a lead company like Land Voice is an example, or I think Scott was talking about the Mojo Dialer does screening of leads, so you have to pay money for it. So, so I would use that as part of my 10% that I'm putting into my marketing budget. 10% is going to be for a company that actually screens the leads. So that's how I would do that.
All right.
Good questions. Anything else? All right. Well, hey, go get us some agents and get your cruise. We've actually already had one agent has earned his free cruise, and you don't have to be first, but don't be last, and don't be back in Ohio watching Facebook posts from the rest of us who are on the cruise. You want to be there with us. You want to be in those pictures. So, but stay warm. Go out there, get some business, and stay warm. Have a great week.